Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pod TV's #1 advocate show, or do it yourself advocate show, Timeshare Solution or Surrender with Irene Parker, who will actually take a look at deceptive acts of timeshares, help you analyze your situation because there are so many out there, and she will help provide you tips on how to find resolutions for the timeshare that you purchase. So many people get so caught up into the sales of a timeshare, they don't realize that what they actually purchased was nothing at all what they were sold. And that's a big difference. And that is one of the biggest deceptive acts. The second biggest deceptive act is, guess what, folks? The exit companies. And here again, this is where Irene Parker will provide a lot of tips and ideas on how you can avoid getting caught up into an exit company that's not any good, because there are many bad ones. And also, we are now going to be providing how to avoid not getting into a bad timeshare situation. Everyone, help me welcome Irene Parker, who has helped thousands of people already. And you've recovered millions of dollars of scams, basically.
Well, we don't. There have been a lot of scam exit company, and with help from the Attorney General offices in especially Tennessee and North Carolina, people have been resolving disputes.
Yes.
And we have, I want to bring our first guest on because she's going to have to get back to work in about 30 minutes.
And
So,
before we get started, I want to say Happy New Year's.
oh, Happy New Year.
And you're looking great. Okay,
Yes.
so let's introduce your next guest here.
Okay, Rhonda is she is she defaulted on a Holiday Inn loan with reporting extraordinary deception. And the reason I asked Rhonda on today is there's been some developments in the Military Lending Act lawsuits. Our other guest today is Candy, and she stopped making payments in May of 2023. Rhonda, you said before the show that you stopped in August of 2024. Members supporting members is a really big deal. And we've had, so someone that is just starting the default process, it can be terrifying. But rather than have you wait around before you joined us today, I wanted to bring you both on so I can just give a little bit of an introduction. And I want to start first by offering our condolences to a former guest on our show, Glenda Parker. We don't know if we're related, but she's a fellow Floridian. And she was on the show, I think about 5 or 6 months ago. She received a refund of $22,500 from one of the biggest scam artist companies you could ever imagine, where at their road show, they actually said that former Congressman Anthony Sabatini was behind their efforts, and it was really gruesome. But sadly, her husband, who is 100% disabled veteran, Navy veteran, he passed away December 26th, one day after Christmas. He had the symptoms of Agent Orange. And so we want to just offer our deepest condolences. And at least we were glad we were able to alleviate that one stress in her life. Now, we were supposed to have two other guests on with us today, Katie and Dennis. And both of them are two individual families. They both purchased from Vacation Village. And we have a couple of breaking news items, at least breaking for us. And one of them is that we had 4 people on with Vacation Village last week. Since December 1, 21 families desperately seeking release from Vacation Village and their sister company, Great Eastern, have reached out to us. And because they offer no responsible exit unless you have medical disability, a very serious medical disability, there is no responsible exit. So it's crazy. You're left to pay maintenance fees for the rest of your life. And I want to just go over one example. This is an Army veteran, and when he left service, he had a back injury and a knee injury as a result from parachuting out of airplanes. And now his disability has progressed to where he can only drive 20 miles one way and 20 miles back in a day. And he reached out to us because he contacted Vacation Village. He owns at Parkway, and they said, we don't take him back. I said, well, did you tell them about your disability? No, I did not. So this is the role we play. We want to improve communication between you and the developers. Now, just another couple things from it's sort of taking stock. We are swamped, absolutely swamped. So I'm very happy that you're both on the show to describe the process from the beginning, where it starts from the first call that's made. So when we first formed TARDA in 2019, no one knew who we were. We would get maybe 1 to 3 families a week, and after a couple of months, it might have been 3 to 5 families a week. And then a couple of things happened that has made it take off like a rocket. So since in the month of December, 82 families reached out. And since January 1, we have had 28 families reach out. So it's been overwhelming because we have a board of directors of 11. They have busy lives. I can certainly attest that I'm busier volunteering my time in Timeshare than I was working as a stockbroker. And that's saying a lot. So we want to start with, but the breaking news one of the breaking news is that a few weeks ago, somebody said, I asked them about Vacation Village, and they said, you can sell it, call Vacacia and to see about selling it. I'm like, I don't know it that well, but I think that's a rental site. And then lo and behold, I just learned a few days ago that Vacacia acquired Vacation Village. Oh, we have Destination Timeshare on here, wishing us a happy new year. Jeremy's been on the show before, and we also have someone, I don't know if I know him, but I hope he must have been listening to me because he is a disabled person. Oh, his one leg is amputated and he needs our help.
Wow.
I want to implant a prosthetic leg from a hospital. Can you help me? Can anyone tell me about this? So this is a show about timeshare. So I don't know how we would be able to help this person, but I certainly wish we could. So this is kind of a first for me to have someone reach out with something like that. So now, Rhonda, we're going to start with you because, like I said, you have about 20 minutes and you have to get back to work. There have been 4 lawsuits filed accusing the first one was Blue Green, the second one was Westgate, the third one was Holiday Inn, formerly known as Orange Lake, and the fourth one was Wyndham. And I just learned yesterday that a lawsuit has been filed against Hilton Grand Vacations, accused of violating the Military Lending Act. Now, since we want to maximize your time with us today, we're going to start, if you can just take us back. The biggest question everybody asks is, what happens if I stop paying maintenance fees? What happens if I stop making loan payments. And Candy probably has the happiest story I've heard in a long time about what happened when she stopped making payments in May of 2023. But Rhonda, you give us a little brief summary of why you felt you were deceived by your Holiday Inn sales agents, and especially focusing on our process, because what we say is the first step is a clear, concise written report, and that's not always so easy to do. So let us know how you ended up with us here today.
Yes. So real quickly, I had had a timeshare for a long time and was pretty happy. They tried to, well, we indicated that we might like to own every year instead of every other year, which is what we owned before, and they upsold us and weren't truthful. Our maintenance fees went up very, very drastically, and we did ask that specific question. And so the next year we were told even more devastatingly, lies basically that, left us, not knowing what to do. So they actually kind of sold us another product, which was even higher mortgage, if you want to call it a mortgage. So after a few months, I realized, we just can't do this. This is not sustainable. I have a special needs child, and both my mother and my mother-in-law are elderly, and we're taking care of them. And quite frankly, I didn't know where to turn. I knew that a lot of the timeshare exit companies, if not all of them, I wasn't sure at that point who could be believed, who could be trusted. We'd looked and talked to some attorneys even, and I happened across a Facebook page which led me to Tarda and Irene.
And
And
you also called a scam company as well that they wanted to charge you $19,000, and they it sounded like they impersonated Holiday Inn.
they did, yes. When they contacted me, it was like they either worked for Holiday Inn or they worked for a company investigating Holiday Inn. And as it turned out, it was a timeshare exit company. And yes, they were, very telling us that they absolutely could get us out of it, but it would cost $19,000 more. So I just really didn't believe that. I wasn't ready to outlay additional money that I really thought probably wouldn't help us, and honestly didn't know which way to turn. I ended up on Facebook and searching for owner support groups. I had already seen ARDA. I had already figured out on my own that it really wasn't to support the owners. It was pretty apparent to me right away. So I was very thankful to find Tarda. And honestly, even once I found your process, I was extremely appreciative to have Irene's help, because even though I have done some project engineering, I can write, but it's like staring at a blank piece of paper and there's so much emotion involved. I didn't know where to start. And so I was so appreciative that she helped me get the facts of what kind of happened to me and my family down on paper so that I could concisely convey what really happened so that I actually could file a complaint.
Well, and I don't think I've ever met an engineer that said they were a good writer. So
Yes, I'm
now,
appreciative.
I sometimes I feel like a baseball announcer here with our chat box on the side. Jeremy reminded me that, and we next week we are hoping. I know Dennis said he's buried in snow. He definitely wants to come next week, but. Eldorado Management is another name associated with Vacation Village and Great Eastern, and the parent over that is the Berkeley Group. So Vacasia acquired both the Berkeley Group along with DM Management, Daily Management, and Sherda, who was supposed to be on with us today. I asked her to come on next week because she's going to be researching this. And yes, Jeremy, I'm familiar with Vacasa, which is not the same as Vacasia. So let's go. And I've got some, let's get back to you, Rhonda. I've got some numbers here. But before we do that, you have a security clearance and your husband has a security clearance.
Yeah.
And so just how deceptive this report that you sent us to illustrate taking advantage of someone that has a security clearance. So your maintenance fees were supposed to increase about $450, but it doubled. And December 7th, 2022, you purchased points, financing 21,000 for standard points and 12,000 for at 15.95 for signature points. And the mortgage could be refinanced at the local bank, which is not true. And we have limited inventory, so we'll always be buying back. And so this was, and then you ended up with a being upsold a second time, correct? And you ended up with a $75,000 loan financed at 16.5%. So how did you go from the second to the third upsell?
Right. So the second one occurred in November of 2022. And they did say, okay, yes, your maintenance fees are just going to be every year instead of every other year, but about the same cost that they had been, and that they would increase similar to the past 15 or so years that my other deeded timeshare was going up. And so we booked a stay just a little over 12 months later, and honestly hadn't really looked at our maintenance fees for that year. I think I'd gotten an email bill about it, but just happened across it looking for our check-in information while we were en route to the Holiday Inn Club here locally. And it was quadrupled. It was more than 4 times more. And we thought there was a mistake. We thought somehow the payment didn't go through for the mortgage payment, which was around $1,200, and then adding the maintenance fees to that might be close to that amount. But when we arrived, we ended up speaking with a gentleman there, and he's writing and writing and writing the whole time we're kind of telling him the story. And basically what he was doing was writing down 1 through 10, which is years 1 through 10 of that contract we were sold in November of 2022. And he turned it around, and those maintenance fees were doubling every year. And he said, "Were you not shown this?" And we thought, who in their right mind? I mean, the maintenance fees were like 20,000 in year 10, just the maintenance fees. And we're like, nobody would buy this. Oh yeah, you'd be surprised. So he tells us we're locked into this. Our children will be locked into this. He could convince them to let us out of the contract if we get this other contract, which was a higher mortgage. And so we're just kind of basically lied to, scared into doing it, because we thought, oh goodness, we're locked into this. Nobody could afford these maintenance fees. So he said the maintenance fees would stay around that quadrupled amount, but then they would only increase at a more reasonable rate. So we signed that contract really out of fear of being stuck in this crazy maintenance doubling contract. But that was completely a lie as well. I don't even think they are allowed to double your maintenance every year. But we thought that they were. And so we sort of came to our senses after a couple, 3 months. But I was just like, we just can't do this. Our mortgage payment on our home was less than the timeshare payment. And we live on the lake. We have a nice place. And I said, this is just crazy. We're not getting really any value out of this. And we would be crazy. Basically, I felt like my son's future as a special needs person who probably won't be able to provide for himself was on the line because I was stuck with this timeshare. And so I was desperately looking for some way to resolve the issue, but because of my clearance, in addition to a program that I am required to participate in that requires me to be highly reliable, they review my finances every year. So defaulting or having any kind of major hit financially makes me look unreliable. And so
Well,
I
and I'm
was,
going to read here, if you're in the military, from the Uniform Code of Military Justice states that a service member can be subject to a bad conduct discharge, forfeiture of all pay and allowances, and confinement for up to 6 months for dishonorably failing to pay a debt. That's from the Manual for Court Martials. So, tell me that the military are not targeted for this reason. Is what now you reached out, you wrote your report. I just ask about 100 questions and get the who, what, why, one whys down. And you sent that to Orange Lake Holiday Inn, and the response was what?
well, for one thing, obviously finding a contact is difficult. I did try to send it to a specific contact, and I believe you guys provided one. And I think it wasn't until about the third one this gentleman called us, said he was the wrong person. We were like, can you give us the correct person, the correct contact, so we can send it to them directly? He would not. So I finally included it on my actual Holiday Inn Club account online. There's a place there, I guess, to send in information. No response from that at all. So I basically really didn't get any response from them. I did file with the Tennessee Attorney General, and their Holiday Inn Club Vacations response back to them, of course, was just saying, it was in the contract that the maintenance fees were going to increase that year, which the gentleman actually addressed that because he knew it would be in there. He said, oh, it'll be higher this first year. It's sort of like when you first upgrade your phone, that first bill is more expensive and then it goes back to normal. So he actually used that as a comparison. So we weren't concerned about that, but he said it'll go back down to normal next year. So of course the contract, you can't go by anything they've told you, but they run you through the contract in about 5 or 6 or 7 minutes, however quickly they can get you through it. So, but their response basically was back, that it was in the contract, that all this was disclosed to us, that kind of thing.
And that was the Tennessee Attorney General.
Yes.
Yeah, and then military people, we know some people that are experts in security clearances, and I was told to advise that you reach out to, in the Army, I believe it's a JAG officer, to let them know that you're planning to default before you default. Did you do that?
Well, I'm not technically in the military, but I did contact my employer and
Yes, still
notify them.
let them know before
I
you
did.
take that
Mhm.
step. Okay,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
what was their response?
In my case, because they do review my credit reports and all those types of things, he wanted a current copy of my credit report so that next year when they review it, they can see if perhaps that is the only change. Because based on what I told him, in my case, luckily, he said, we're not going to hold that against you because it sounds like a nightmare, quite frankly. He was very nice. And he said, I understand why you're doing it. So we just need to ensure that, because they don't really see my report, they see the credit score. And so he wanted a credit report, and then next year I'll have to provide them another one, and they'll compare it and see I'm not just going down this crazy rabbit hole that really it's just that one thing. If my credit score were to drop by 100 points or something, they could see if it was just because of that, then it would all be fine for me, luckily. But, I've
Because
worked
you'd be
in
paying all your other bills.
paying all my other bills, and I've worked in this. I've been working doing this job basically in the same type career, really for the same location for 34 years. So I probably get a little more leeway than other people. If this had happened to a younger person, I don't know if they would have been as understanding and as willing to be as flexible with somebody that was a little younger. So I'm
Yeah,
just,
I've been advised that, if you're 4 years enlisted, it's not the same as if you've served 23 years and it depends on how valuable your role is. We had someone report capital vacations, and he is active duty, military, and they told him he bought one time, and then he went to an upgrade, and they told him your maintenance fees are going to increase 15% every year unless you give us $15,000 to buy additional points. And so he didn't buy. So basically, he doesn't have a complaint. If he had bought, he had a complaint, but he doesn't want to have anything to do with this company. Who can blame him? And the response from Capital Resorts was that, well, that is true that maintenance fees go up every year, but not 15%. And why would giving them 17,000 stop that? But that wasn't true to begin with.
So I got a question for Rhonda. Rhonda, the way you handled this was to me, very responsible. You have a job to protect, you have a family to look out for. What would you advise people to do? And then I actually have two. One is a request that I would like for you to speak with someone who is high up in the military and share your experience with them and see what we can do to help change some of the rules and laws and prevent people from getting caught in these what I call, what they told you is not what they sold you scams, which is what happened to you. But again, what would your advice be to someone in your in a similar position and similar situation?
I guess it depends on at what point they are. Obviously, never buy to start with, and get out of it as quickly as you can. I guess the biggest thing I'm very, very thankful for was finding you guys, because I still am getting contacted from exit companies. We are it's so predatory. So, I mean, if somebody sees this, I guess you need to go through the steps provided here, because from what I can see, you can advocate for yourself just as they have laid out and accomplish as much, if not more, than you can trying to go with one of these other companies, and perhaps even with an attorney. So far we stopped paying in August. Probably, I don't think it hit my report until November. But so far it really hasn't done that much. And it is showing as a timeshare rather than a mortgage. So I know you guys may touch on that, but I was on the show there previously where that was discussed. So you want to make sure that that's not reported as a mortgage.
Kim, can you put Shauna Jones' comment up here so we can all see it?
Yes.
Yeah. Explain to me how that works. Do you contact the credit bureau and tell them to change it from mortgage to timeshare? I mean, unfortunately,
that's what your sister said to do, and Rhonda was on the show with your sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. My sister's smart. She knows this industry. So, but
okay, this is the mentality of someone who doesn't care about active duty service members losing their security clearance.
This is why I would like Rhonda to speak with a friend of mine who is high up, that maybe, because he does go out and he does try to make changes for the people. He is the first one that will say, how did you get in this mess to begin with? Like, he is a Mr. responsible person, but so are you. Yes. And again, I'm going to tell people what they tell you and what they sell you are two different things. And to sit there and have to read through a contract of pages after pages, and his advice would be, well, don't do it. But the mortgage company, how many people buy houses and don't really read all 500 pages of stuff that you're here, sign this, here, sign this. Next time, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go, you sit right there because I know that they're only paying you one flat rate. And I'm going to read every item. Don't tell me to sign anything. And I'm going to read all 500 pages with you sitting there before I sign it. You know what? Maybe but timeshares, their documents, and I remember telling them, I can't read. I was intoxicated. I can't understand what I'm reading. Can I come back and do this? And they go, don't worry. We'll show you exactly where to sign. We'll do it. We'll take care of all of it. And I can remember that because I was in significant mourning from when my husband had died about 2 years earlier on the same day. And I was on vacation with my sister, and we were very intoxicated. And they said, don't worry. And they kept us for almost 4 hours. So I was coming, but yeah. So to me, you could be the most responsible person in the world, and you're going to get a hiccup in life. And that hiccup shouldn't cost you the rest of your life.
Yes.
We could do a million things right in our lifetime and make one tiny mistake like timeshare, and it cost us the rest of your life. Like you said, it will cost your child because your child inherits it. And I know Irene is right. You have a right they have a right when you die to go get it canceled. But if they don't know about it, that ain't going to happen.
Right.
Exactly. And the good thing, Rhonda, is the Holiday Inn went back to court, filed a motion asking the court to dismiss the Military Lending Act lawsuit, and the courts they denied their request. So probably, I'm not a lawyer, but if I had to guess, I would think maybe they're going to appeal, and that was a stalling tactic. But we're making, I know you have to go, but this, let us know whenever you have to hop off. But so the first lawsuit was Westgate sued. The argument is a timeshare stay a residential stay or a transient stay, because the Military Lending Act exempts home mortgages. And I love to quote Judge Dalton, ending the day I was there. When I check out of a timeshare, I can't leave my underwear and toothpaste. And so that Westgate lost, and they appealed. Taya, our very first guest on Timeshare Solution or Surrender, she went with me to Atlanta to the appellate court, along with former Westgate owner Carl and our board president. No, she wasn't at that one, but we went and we heard the three judges at the appellate court. Taya was in her military fatigues, so at least those judges got it. I'm sorry, the first lawsuit was Blue Green, but they did not rule on whether you are a covered borrower. They ruled on, can you trace the damage to the Military Lending Act? So with the Westgate, it made that, I feel, a moot point, because it would mean if you're in the military, your contracts are voided. I understand they have to go back to court for Westgate and probably certify class. And then the third one was Holiday Inn. But oh my gosh, that was Angelique Lingard. And they bought a fixed week and then upgraded to, I don't know, a 2-bedroom or from a every other year to a 1 year. They bought 7 times. And every time they bought, they asked, what happens if we can't use it? You can sell it. It's easy to sell. Just like you were told, he also told us that we have limited inventory, so we will always be interested in buying back our own product, which is nonsense. So now we have then the Wyndham lawsuit with Heather Huxley that was stayed pending the Westgate ruling. And now we have Holiday Inn Grand Vacations. And also Taya is she went to a lawyer. This was Wyndham. She accused them of this SCRA, the Service Members Civil Relief Act, that if you have a high interest rate loan before you enter service, the lender is required to reduce it to 6%. So she went to a lawyer who drafted a class action suit and never filed it. So I was aware of Kirchner versus Wyndham. So she contacted that attorney, and now she's, last I checked, she's still a lead plaintiff in Yorks and Physics versus Wyndham. The Yorks, he was a Presbyterian minister for 50 years, dementia, well, I think Alzheimer's diagnosis. The wife had a service dog. They were with us, with Kim in Delaware when we went to that oral argument. So it's like we're really building a powerful force, I think, with members helping members and trying to steer people away from so many scam exit companies. So I think, Rhonda,
it's more now, I think, now that we've got that will going, members helping members, but I think now we need some advocates that can stand up and say this needs to change. And Rhonda, I think that you are definitely one of them, especially in the military realm. And I think it needs to start happening where we start making a movement towards changing the laws. One of them, I personally think, no sale shall be final unless you have a full recording of everything you were sold.
That will never happen.
I know it won't, but maybe we can teach people to take their own recorder in and record the full sale. And to me, that is going to be very important. I know, Irene, a lot of states say recordings aren't allowed, but you can make that thing go so viral. I get told that all the time now. Why, I don't know why anyone tries to scam anyone anymore, because all you have to do is record your sales and your conversations with people and just make them go viral if they screw you. And it's just a sad way that we have to do this, but the laws are written in favor of the rich man. The laws are written in favor of the big corporations, and that's what you're up against.
And also members helping members. I introduced Rhonda when she told me about her background. I thought, you sound a lot like someone else I just talked to. And I introduced them, and they were able to resolve their dispute that included a $23,000 American Express card. So we want to give the resorts a chance to do what's right. We don't want to be the enemy. We want to be the facilitator.
Right. You always, in a situation like this, you always give people an opportunity to make right what is wrong. But if they don't, then you have to take care of you. And at that point, I would say, don't be nice, but Irene is still nice. I'm not. But that's why I won a recent situation and the attorney ended up paying me. So, because I'm not nice, but I am until the wrong keeps getting worse. And then I that's when the mean in me comes out. But I will say this, I say Irene's nice, but I have seen the angry side of her.
Sharon's boss calls me the quiet assassin.
I call you the timeshare slayer. So, because slayers can be stealth too.
And a commercial for volunteers, Rhonda, we hope you pay it forward. I just had someone that if you default on a credit card companies are way more aggressive. And they defaulted on a $23,000 Amex card. Lori was on our show. And I got a call from someone yesterday that was just hysterical because she paid a lawyer in Florida $3,000, but he said, we can't help you with the $23,000 Amex charge. And that's charged the whole purchase. And so Lori contacted a debt attorney in Minnesota, and they said, well, see if you can negotiate it yourself. What a wonderful attorney, and let us know. So she negotiated it. I was like, armchair quarterback, and she negotiated him down from 23,000 to 10,000. So when I had this person having a nervous breakdown on the phone yesterday, when she realized what she had done, I emailed Lori and said, would you talk to this person? And they connected. And that level of support, you feel alone when you don't know who to talk to, which brings us to our next guest, who's been a prior guest. Thank you, Candy, for being on the show. You had some of the most gruesome things in your experiences. And as I was prefacing, there are many, many people that have owned Westgate for years and years and loved it. But, and the most important, use now a strong disclaimer that it's not at all unusual for your credit score to drop 200 points when you stop paying, but you stopped making payments in May of 2023. And you followed our process, you composed a report, and my eyes kept getting bigger and bigger. So let's begin at the end and tell us how after you submitted your report and Westgate said too bad, what happened after that? Then if we have time, we'll go back and listen to some of these amazing experiences you experienced staying at Westgate. So number one, after they responded, what was the communication between you and Westgate, and what is the status of your credit report? And I believe there's 4 people on the contract. Okay. Oh, we can't. You're muted again. Oh. Okay. She was talking just fine earlier, so.
Try again.
Well, yeah, we can't. Maybe I could.
You can exit out and dial back in real quick. And Irene, maybe you can give us a little background of her situation. Because her.
Oh. I certainly will, but I'll go ahead and give her a call. This happens every once in a while, so I'm kind of used to it.
Now try it.
Okay, so I'm gonna just too much feedback. Okay, so yeah, I'm very familiar with
Candy. If you can exit out and then come back in.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, now we got you.
Now we can hear you. Okay, great.
Houston, we have contact.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And I heard everything, so I didn't know I was muted. So I contacted Irene. She helped me. We sent the letter, and it was a while, and I'm a nervous Nelly and drove her crazy. But finally, I got a phone call one day, and it was Westgate, somebody from Westgate, and they said, well, what can we do to make you happy? I said, there's nothing you can do to make me happy. I want out of my contract. That's the bottom line. My letter said it all. Every time we come, it's a circus. Every time we come, something bad happens. We want out. We were sold a total bag of lies. And they said, well, that's not going to happen, but I'll put a do not call on your case or your number. So they put a do not call. We've not heard one more word from Westgate. In the meantime, I've checked our credit reports, and my husband is the only one that's even being bothered by it. That hasn't touched our credit reports, but all 4 of us are on the contract. And
how much did oh yeah, go ahead.
It went down. I don't want to really say 100 points, but it went down. He was into the 700s. Nothing major. It hasn't stopped us from living our life. And that's it. And we've not heard anything. It hasn't calmed down anymore. It's like we don't exist anymore. And I find that just really weird that everybody else worries about their credit report and all this, and we're just sort of sitting there waiting. And we've been since May of 23 trying to get out. And so it's not always gloom and doom when they try to hit your credit report, because I don't think they know what they're doing myself, but that's just my opinion.
Well, and you're a good example is the tendency is to ignore the calls. And I
Right.
usually suggest you take the call unless it becomes harassing, and then you can you can send a cease and desist letter. You don't need an attorney to do that. And I've told this story so many times, I'll make it brief, but we have my ICE agent story that would try to keep the collection agent on the phone as long as he possibly could. And then he would, read some wonderful, warm, fuzzy comments on LinkedIn by the executives, and he would blast back. And I don't think you can delete somebody else's comments on LinkedIn, but it's a matter of, trying to use that as an opportunity to tell them, what would you do if this happened to you? And the mold story really got me, and the towels. Before we run out of time, can you tell those two experiences?
Well, that was just one. Like I said, we're a biannual, and every time we went, it was something. One time we went, my daughter had headaches the whole week we were there. We couldn't really figure it out, but then the day before we were getting ready to leave, so we had one more full day there. My grandson, who at the time was very little, maybe 4, 5, and he was playing with his Hot Wheel truck, and it went under the couch. So they couldn't reach it. The guys couldn't reach it. So they pulled the couch out and the whole wall from the couch level down was black mold.
Ew.
So I immediately called. We took some scrapings and put it away from the area because we were going to bring it home to have proof. But anyways, so I called them, and they said, well, mold's normal. What do you want us to do? And I said, well, first of all, I want out of my contract because I'm fighting them every year to get out of this contract since we signed it. And they said, well, that ain't going to happen. And finally, they said, I guess they got tired of me. They said, well, we'll move you. I said, for one night, what's that going to do? Well, we'll move you, but in Florida, mold is normal. I said, well, in Michigan, which is where I'm from, mold is not normal. And the health department would come in here and shut you down in a hot minute if you didn't take care of that. And why aren't you taking care of that? And they're like, it's not a big deal. And they pushed the couch back, hid the mold, told us we could move next door, didn't help us or anything, didn't even bring us a luggage cart. And and on their way out the door, they grabbed our scraping, which was not even in the area. So they were looking for anything they could find that might, show that this happened. And they left. And that was the end of the mold. They didn't care. They weren't concerned. I said, well, we're taking my daughter to the emergency room. And they're like, no, well, that's on you. You can do whatever you want to do. But the headaches immediately stopped once we got on the plane to come home. So, or in the car to come home, I should say. We didn't fly that year. So, but it was like.
And the towels.
And then the next year, we went down, and we have a 2-bedroom, sleeps 10 unit. And so we went to take a shower, and I'm like, where's all the towels? And of course, young kids, they have to use 1,000 towels at a time. And my daughter says, well, we only used our 2. And Don says, well, I used mine. And I'm like, well, where's mine? Well, anyways, long story short, there was 4 towels. Yes, 4 towels and 4 washcloths.
For 6 people.
For 6 people that was in a 10-person unit.
And when you reached out to them, what did they say?
I called them and I said, we need more towels up here. Something's wrong. I said, we're in a 10-person unit. We've got 4 towels. Well, I'll make a note of that and you will get them in the middle of the week because that's when we refresh the towels. I said, no, that ain't going to happen. We need our towels. We need towels. There's 6 of us and we need towels. And they're like, well, like I said, the middle of the week we'll bring them to you. And so I don't know if I should go live and tell this little part, but so we went out, we were mad, and we went out and we come back and there was a bag of linens on the walkway. So we just picked it up and took them in the house with us. And we ended up having towels until the middle of the week, and then 4 new ones came.
Well, and at this point, if we had time, Kim, I would have you show the Queen of Versailles Netflix with the 90,000 square foot home and 30 bathrooms. We don't have time for that today, but, and it all started, I believe this was in this was in 2000. Okay, you actually stayed there the first time in 2015 or 16. No, 2016. You said you used your daughter's week, and that there was a bait and switch with that. Go ahead and tell us about the water park. Oh, yeah, she's going. Yeah, we can't hear again. So what she did, that's okay. I've got your story down. We can't hear you. So I've got amazing. They offered to when she used her daughter's week. So they put her right by the water park, and the grandchild had a wonderful time. Are you back?
I think I am. Am I back?
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
good old
Okay.
technology. So I've got your grandson enjoying the water park in 2016 and prompted
Right.
you. Go ahead and take
Right.
it from there.
So of course my daughter and son-in-law were all excited and they talked us into going in with them and buying this timeshare. So when my biggest thing was when we were talking in the 7 hours that they were there with us, was that we were going to be in the same spot because it was right by the water park. Well, that wasn't the case at all. They sold us a park, and it's way away from the water park. And every time we called to book our room, we told them we wanted to be by the water park, and they would tell us we can't have the water park. The water park is for new people, and that they didn't have any room for us, and that we didn't buy there. And it was like, yes, we did. That's what we bought. We were assured of the water park because we have young children. No, that's not how that worked. But and I know this isn't part of that particular subject, but the next 1 year we were there, we wanted to be at the pool on New Year's Day, and they said the pool wasn't open, and they said that Dave Siegel owned that pool, and this is exactly what they said. Dave Siegel owns that pool, and if he wants to allow you people to use it, you can. However, today it is not going to be open because there's not people to work it, and Dave Siegel doesn't want you to use it. And I'm like, wait a minute. That pool, nothing was ever said about that water park not being part of the timeshare. And it was.
Well, and one time weren't you placed completely outside the resort?
They tried to place us outside one time. That was another year. They tried to place us outside of the actual Westgate property. They said it was their property, but it was outside of the gate where you come in and you have to show your card and to get in. And I'm like, no. We're not going to walk a mile, half a mile every time we want to come here. And we're not going to drive here because there's absolutely no parking. If you've ever been there, there's no parking. They have a few spots here and there, but there's no parking there. But that ain't the problem. We're not going outside their gates. We own that property, supposedly. And we want our place inside. And they're like, well, we can't do that. And so my son-in-law got really sort of belligerent, and made it happen. But they were going to keep us outside the park because they were full with other people that they were trying to sell. So,
Well, and I want to, before we run out of time, that this is tax time.
yes.
And people have already started posting bad advice about the 1099-C. So, and Kimberly, I don't know if you got one, but it's if they cancel your loan, not so much if you foreclose on the loan, I don't think, or they could, but if they cancel your loan, you can be issued a 1099-C by the IRS saying that you owe taxes on the forgiven amount. So one law firm gets hundreds of these, and they've always been able to successfully dispute that. I use the example, if you have a boat, you paid $10,000 and you defaulted on a $5,000 loan, but kept the boat, you'd be enriched, but you're left with nothing of value. One of our volunteers reached out to the IRS and told them, this tax is unfair and punitive. And they said the answer they got was yes, but it's easy to get money out of old people. So our board president, Sheila, who's been on the show several times, she is a tax preparer. And she wrote an article about the timeshare tax trap and how to dispute it. So, and also people are posting, you should talk to your tax advisor. Well, a lot of tax advisors don't understand timeshare. And so I've put them in touch with the attorney that also is a former CPA, and, tried to, it's just every way you turn around, you get boxed in, it seems, with this timeshare. But before we run out of time, Rhonda, you're now. How are you feeling about all this now? And your husband. One thing I forgot to ask is he hasn't been with hasn't had a security clearance that long. How is he doing with his employment?
So far so good. He did notify his employer. They didn't request him to pull a credit report or anything like that, so we're not even sure if it's hit his credit. He does monitor his credit score, and he hasn't really seen any impacts. But so far so good with his job. They seem to be pretty understanding of it. He is pretty valued employee, so that helps. And then as far as my credit score, I think it's only gone down maybe about 15 or 20 points. Of course, it wasn't reported until November, I guess it was. But I'm still in the 700s so far. So.
And Candy, I believe you said that it used to be reported as a mortgage. This is the first time, and maybe because of the appellate court, this is the first time you said it was showed as a timeshare loan. Was it an installment loan, or did it just say timeshare? It did not say mortgage.
It on my husband's credit report, it didn't really say anything. It just showed failure to pay Westgate. I can't remember exactly what it says. I'd have to pull another report, but it really didn't say mortgage. It didn't say installment loan. It just said we were behind in our payments, and
on a timeshare.
Yeah. That's all it said. It didn't. It might. I'm really flabbergasted because my case isn't really following what everything else. When I look at TARDA and I look at the other Facebook page and stuff, everything that's happening to us seems to be weird compared. I don't know. I don't know what, but.
Well, look what you did though. You sent a written report instead of just stop paying.
Right.
And then you communicated with them. You happened to get a nice guy at Westgate. That's a first. And then you were able to talk to them and let them know. And it's like, this is what self-advocacy is all about. And Kim's sister Kelly is a mortgage loan officer, and she's a credit repair expert. And she said the first thing you should do is argue that it's not a residential mortgage. And now we've got appellate court, Fannie Mae, the Federal National Credit Union, the National Credit Union Administration says it's not a mortgage. So thank you, Kim, for allowing us to have our voices heard and in 123 countries.
Let's beat him up. No, I love it. My timeshare slayer, I love it. We need to stand together if we're going to work out some of the problems. Not all of them are problems, but everyone, thank you for watching us. Everyone, thank you for participating and helping others, help others, help others. And until next week, take care, be safe, and stay warm. It's going to get cold.
And I want we all say a prayer for Nazaquet Al-Jud. He also said he was a soldier in the army. Due to a mine blast, his right leg was amputated. So, if that's a legitimate poster, then let's hope that he gets some help.
I've told him where he might be able to go get some help or advice. He's looking for advice. That's how good this show is. You've got people calling for everything. And I want to thank everyone. Everyone take care, be safe, and we will hopefully see everyone soon. Bye.